if it brings those emotions, I won't hide it. You know, I'm so comfortable with the man I am. It's ridiculous.
All right. Well, the first question is, my question for you is, did you find poetry, or did poetry find you?
You know, it's almost like poetry found me. Man, this is a long story. I'm gonna sum this shit up so quick. I've done a lot of progression in my thinking. I used to be very ignorant, so ignorant to the fact that when I was in college playing basketball, my folks, for the first year, tried to get me a computer. And I was like, nah, I don't want a computer. And it was like, why? Like, you can do your papers and stuff. I was like, nah. I can do my papers at school, in their library, and I don't want it because it takes up room in my apartment. That sounds silly as fuck, right? It sounds silly as fuck. But anyway, they surprised me one day. They came to Atlanta, and I walked in, and they were putting this computer together. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? What is this? What? It's like, it's a computer. I'm like, I know that. What is it doing here? You know, they're like, well, so they got me a computer, and eventually I wrote a true story, a novel that is about me and this young lady. Through that, that was just something I could write. I didn't even like it, but I started writing other stuff after that. Another novel, and that second novel I wrote, which I eventually published called St. Thomas, I wrote a poem at the end of the book to kind of give a feeling of it. Long story short, took the poem to class for some extra credit. My teacher went crazy over it, told me to find somebody who was published, who was a poet. And I never did, but I bumped into him at a comedy club. It was funny. It's kind of like it really did find me, because I wasn't even gonna go to the comedy club that night. And they announced his name, and I was like, yo, you know, you're the cat my teacher told me to holler at. And he ran a venue, and he took me to his venue, and I remember the times when I was hanging with him where he was like, he made me go on stage and read when I didn't even want to. I would like come to the venue and like not have my stuff. He's like, well, I'm gonna call you anyway. So he kind of pushed me, and then I started loving it, and because I thought this direction was going to take me to be more of an author. Even though I still write novels and stuff like that, I didn't think I was going to be on the forefront on microphones and stuff like that.
Moving on to, now it's funny because you just answered my next question, which was, because you're a novelist, how does being a novelist like still feed into how you write your poems?
Well, a poem to me is just a shorter novel. It's like it can give off the same feeling at the end of a novel, just some acceptance, or like, you know, I really got something from that. But it's just a shorter novel. Like, it's funny, like my novels are my babies. I've written like 8 novels, and they're like when I've only published one, but when I publish another one, I want to do it right. Like, they're like, it took me time to write them. Like, on the average, you probably, I know this is a small length of time, I know, but that's only because I'm on it like every second of the day. But on the average, it takes me probably to write a novel like 3 months, and like a 300-page novel. Like, it takes about 3 months. And actually, a novel, man, you can really, when you're writing it, you can really feel like that it is happening. I remember when I was writing this one scene in St. Thomas, the book that I published. When I got to it, I knew it was going to happen because I'm obviously the thinker of the novel. But I started tearing up as I was writing it. I'm like, God, that's crazy.
We're going to switch hats from writing to just performing. And I want to know, how important is it for you as a performer to connect with your audience? Both stage-wise, and then switching back to being a writer, and like from CD, you know, or books or not.
Well, it's definitely important if you want to continue your career. I tell poets they don't just write for themselves, they also write for other people. The thing is, we're all connected. We all have experiences that either, if not, are the same, that relate. So it's when you're performing, you have to perform your poem with the same energy and the same excitement as when you wrote it. So somebody else can feel it, because nobody is going to feel your work more than you. And also on CDs, there's been a lot of poets that have fucked up the game with trashy CDs, because there's a lot of people come to the venues and they'll get a CD, and they'll see a poet like, man, you know, they were dope. I want to go get the CD. They get the CD and the CD's trash. And most of it is due to production. And it's not the words, because the words, it's the same words, you know, that they inspired to buy the CD from the performance. It's not the words, it's the production. So on the production, it's also very important to relate to your audience because you want them to keep coming back. You want them to support your work, not just like catch you at a venue.
Moment when you said to yourself, okay, this is why I do it. This is why it's all worth it.
Moment. I mean, I still ask me that shit every moment. Oh, this is a good moment. I'm starting this. My son, he was about like 8 years old. He's 13 now. I picked him up for the weekend or whatever and was chilling. And he was like, just out of nowhere, he's like, Dad, are you famous? I was like, why you ask me that? It's like, because, you know, because my teacher, I was in a poetry class, and I was like, oh, my dad writes poetry. And the teacher asked me, like, oh, really, who's your dad? And he was like, Marc Marcel. And his teacher was like, oh my God, I know who your dad is. Oh my God. So he was like, why do people know you? And he said, then he looked at my videos on YouTube and he's read some of my like comments on MySpace or just whatever, some of my fan mail that I've gotten through like my internet or whatever. And he looks at that like, he looks at me more than I look at myself. And that's the biggest, I think that's a great compliment I can have, you know, from my child. So that was like the crowning achievement. It's funny because I have felt guilty through my occupation from as much travel as I do, because I've been all over the country, and sometimes that I'm not in Baltimore with him all the time. I almost felt guilty, but he looks at it like he's proud of it. He's like, I've spoken to him about it on a few occasions, just to see what my son is thinking. I don't want to neglect my child's feelings. So, and he's like, no, it's like, that's what you have to do. He's like, I want you to go do it. That's what you do. And he's like proud of it. So, you know.
So that's worth it.
It's worth it, like to have him look at me that way. It's funny. I equate fame to some old different shit, but in his eyes, I'm famous, I guess.
All right, last question. This is like the lightning round.
Lightning round.
All right. Your favorite word?
My favorite word? Either honestly or my diction. I notice I say those words a lot. But I do like the sound of S. I like that sound, S sound, more than any other letter in the alphabet. But I do notice the words I say most are honestly or my diction. Yeah, probably so.
Least favorite word?
Nigga.
Okay.
Nigga and this nigga.
Okay. I got my man. Last question, and this is a question that an artist asked me, and I'm trying to like pass it on. Maybe you can ask another artist. What kind of ancestor would you like to be?
What kind of ancestors would I like to be?
What kind of ancestor would you like to be?
Oh, to people in the future?
Yeah.
Man, you know, it's funny. Like, I progressed a lot in my thinking. Where I used to think certain things matter. I come to realize it doesn't even matter like how it used to matter. But when it's all said and done, it's funny. I would probably say before, man, I just want. When I first started this, I wanted my work to just longevity. I want them to like study my work in libraries and class, and I want to have my own role in Barnes and Nobles. I don't even care about that no more like I used to. I just hope like in the future somebody can say I was a good person. And it's funny, I never thought that would be the final answer of that question I will ever have. Like that, but I really have tried to remove all selfish tendencies that I have with that. And I just hope somebody remembers that I was a good person and just tried to pass on positivity to people with growth and learn.
Okay. Well, we've come to the end. Thank you. Marc Marcel.
I know they give no respect, even before walking the venue, they see it's tatted on my neck.